All right, guys, so I've got a little bit of a longer video for you guys today. It's talking about tires, kind of picking out the right ones for you. I'm not going to bore you with a long intro. I watched the video and I said, you know what, I need to talk to everyone, just tell them, hey, get prepared, it's a little longer. Appreciate everybody watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for this whole video. You guys aren't going to want to miss it. See ya. Welcome back to MJ Misadventures. So today, I've got a little guest hiding back there right now. So we're going to do a tire talk today. I figure we hear a lot of people, both of us hear a lot of people talk about what tires should I get, why should I get different tires. And so me and him kind of came up with an assortment of tires we had laying around and figured let's just kind of talk about them. So we're going to break this into 3 different categories. There's a million subcategories you can break it into, even more if you really want to, of your rock tires, your mud tires, and your trail tires, and kind of your in-betweens. So let's get started. I think we'll start at basically the basic trail tires. These are your traditional basic trail tires that you get on your machine. This is for an ATV, this is for your typical side-by-side. These are a CST Stag, and these are a Carlisle Carathon. They're a simple tire. They work really well in most applications for dirt, rocks, mud. So another advantage of both these tires is they're extremely light. I mean, these are an ATV tire, so they're obviously a little bit smaller. But if you notice how the tread pattern is, it's a fairly all-terrain style tire. It's got a decent gap for some mud use, and the same with this. They do have some decent gap for mud use, but predominantly for your more trail riding use and stuff like that. One negative of these style tires, at least in my opinion, I don't know about others, they are very susceptible, or susceptible. There we go. Acceptable today. To getting punctures in these treads, just because of the wide open spacing, which can be an issue for some riders. So,
and 4-ply.
And they're also a 4-ply, so they are extremely soft and foldable. I mean, I'm not putting a ton of pressure on that, but that is your basic trail tire.
Yes.
They're a great all-around tire, so I don't want anyone to think I'm knocking them. If you're doing average gravel roads, light trails, light mud, maybe some road miles, stuff like that, you know, they're a great tire. Now we'll kind of move over to more of your kind of general purpose tire. This is kind of getting more into your general purpose. It's still kind of along the lines of an all-terrain tire. This is a Rockabilly
32 by 10 by 14.
And these are, I mean, a little bit stiffer of a tread, as you can see, a little bit closer gap, but still they have a wide open pattern. So if you need to get into some mud, they'll still dig and churn through the mud. Do apologize about the weather. We can't control it today.
It's not that bad.
I'm melting,
right?
I am.
You won't.
But this is a Sedona Rockabilly. This is also a good road use tire, if I'm not mistaken. In West Virginia, he rides
solid on the road.
Jack, or side-by-side outcast, as some of you guys know him on YouTube as well, so, yes. And Facebook as well.
Yep. Segway Outcast.
Segway Outcast, that is correct on there. But these are also a good road use tire if you need a tire that can use kind of like a double purpose. So these are a great option for you as well.
And they wear really nice too.
They do. I mean,
I got 600 miles on those.
Okay. Now we're going to kind of move towards, I know a lot of people's big thing is mud. I, funny enough, don't like mud much. Okay. But I always find myself buried in it. This is a Gorilla Silverback tire. Great tire in the mud. Now the difference, if you notice when you look at these tread patterns, is quite apparent. These are both the 30. Now one big thing you want to notice with these tread packs is look at how wide this tread is. I mean, that's that much of a tread block basically.
And the lugs are huge.
The lugs are, you know, on the ends on some of these tires, like my, and I'm gonna put a list at the end or maybe towards our closing thoughts. I have a whole list written out of different tires for different applications, kind of a thing, to kind of help guide people, at least give them some pointers to where maybe to look at. But I mean, some of these tires can range 3-inch tall tread lug, and out at the ends they can be close to 4-inch tall. in the tread lug, like the Interco Snipers that were on the the CF Moto for a while. But let's put that back there. But the big thing with these is the way they're designed to dig. They want to dig down to something solid and push the mud out and keep these tread blocks clean. The other thing is they want to paddle through the mud. They don't want to really, how's a good way to explain it? They don't want to, I guess you would say they want to dig but paddle. They don't want to just
they're actually paddling
hook
through it like a boat oar. They're
Yes.
paddling through the mud.
Exactly right.
And generally these tires are generally more than 4-ply. You're not buying them on a 4-ply.
No, these
They're going to be
if
a
I'm not
stiffer
mistaken,
because of this open
if I'm not
surface.
mistaken, this is a 6-ply tire.
Correct.
So this is a 6-ply tire. Now this runs on Jamin's Polaris, predominantly in the mud. This is what this tire is for and what that machine is for.
That's a beast of a tire. Man.
So honestly, I tell you what, with a good clutch, little 500s can turn though.
I mean, it's a nice tire. Don't
So-
get me wrong. It's just very aggressive. You
Now-
got one purpose with that.
Yes, these tires, I'll tell you right now, on the street, they absolutely suck at 20 miles an hour. They will shake you
Oh yeah.
all
Beat
over the place.
Right out of you.
But one thing, and I'm going to talk about it or mention it in this video too, is I notice a lot of tires don't get balanced. And I think I'll save that towards the end because there's a solution for that that's actually very easy to do.
Well, share it with me because I don't know it.
I will in a moment. Next, we're going to get to your rock tires. Everyone probably knows this beast of a tire right here. This is the Maxxis Rockzilla. And next to it is a Pro Armor Crawler. Now this tire is what I use on the CF Moto. They're a little worn, as you can tell, but they still work really well. These tires on the rocks do really well as well, as their name implies. If you notice, they have a lot more side bite on these tires versus some of the others. The Rockabilly's got a little bit on it, but if you look at the side bite on these style tires, they tend to have more lugs attached to them to give you more sidewall traction for rocks, applications like that. These kind of tires are exactly what they talk about. They are for rocks. They like being in rocks. One thing with these tires, especially those are a sticky compound. This is a standard compound. These tires, when they get hot, those especially once they get hot, they will grab a hold of things, and you do have to watch yourself with them a little bit too.
They can easily bust an axle.
Yes, they are. They have more traction.
Yeah, when they
Yes.
grab hard and you're spinning the tires, that will bust an axle.
Now, if you notice how soft the compound was on those, how I could just fold the tire. Now this tire has what?
8 pounds.
8 pounds in it.
It still moves. I'm watching.
It still moves, but if you notice how, if you come in and look, see how much you can fold that lug over.
And imagine it getting hot.
And yes, this tire is ice cold. It's what,
It's
35 degrees out.
It's not warm.
So these tires, as they get hotter, they actually soften up a ton and will allow it to dig and grab a hold of rocks.
Morning.
So that's
And
kind of.
generally speaking, with a tire like
Hey,
that,
come on in.
yeah,
come on
a
in.
tire
Sorry,
like that,
he's-
generally
he's
you
over there
don't
hiding.
want to, like when people are rock crawling, I know he and I have had our differences on the air pressure.
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, people with those, they want to put them to 6 to 8 PSI,
Mhm.
but only if you have a bead lock.
Yep.
Because it is easy to pop them off of a standard rim, not be, one of these standard rims.
So this, and actually his as well, these are what he's implying is a standard rim. This has no kind of lip on it that lock. So a bead lock, the outer lip of this wheel, so right here, we're just going to pretend that this tire was going on. This tire, or this bead right here, actually gets locked with,
Clamped.
clamped on with this ring right here, the same on his. Where if you notice, this tire doesn't have it.
It's like a standard automotive tire. It just has the 2 regular beads on either side.
Yep.
Just locks to the rim. But
So-
those are designed not to let that happen.
Yes. So that is one thing with rock tires. They do recommend a bead lock so you can get down low in air pressure. If you have a CF Moto or Segway, some
Now they
CF
do.
Motos, and I believe does all Segways?
All Segways come with bead locks. Them are the original bead locks from the Segway, but I just had to change the bolts because they weren't long enough because the compound, them being an 8-ply versus this 4-ply,
They were too thin.
way too thin. So I had to put a longer 35mm bolt in it.
So that is something to also take note of. And I guess we can kind of cover that while we're here. I mean, the difference with bead locks versus a traditional wheel like that, or even yours, so that way
Yeah.
you can kind of get a, you know, this is a traditional aftermarket wheel.
Yeah.
It's a great wheel. Absolutely
It
nothing
is.
wrong with it. But the one thing with these is they don't want to run 4 pounds of air on them,
No,
5
you'll
pounds of
definitely
air.
pop a bead. There's no doubt about it.
You'll roll a bead on those really quickly.
And I did that.
On your ATV guys, so you ATV guys that are listening, don't take that to heart. ATVs, that tire runs at like 8 pounds of air in it, but because of the lighter weight and the stiffer sidewalls, you don't have to worry about the beads popping off like you do for the rock guys, especially with like the Segway or the CF
Well, a
Moto.
2,000-pound unit on that tire versus 500 or 600 pounds on that tire.
Yeah.
A big difference.
Big difference. But this is your standard aftermarket wheel. It's a great wheel. The advantage of a non-bead lock is lightweight. There are some bead locks that are available that are lightweight. You can order them. I think Method and
There's
few
a,
other
there's a
race line.
series of them.
There's a
out
ton of
there.
them out there that you can find that are lighter weight, that will come close to the weight of these. But traditionally, those weigh about 5 to 8 pounds more, if I'm not mistaken, per
Absolutely,
wheel.
especially when you get into the bigger size like this.
So between 5 to 8 pounds more per tire.
And almost double the price per rim.
Yes, very, very, very true. And then that's just your standard stock wheel. Well, technically, these 3 are all stock wheels. But yeah, I think let's move inside. We'll kind of do a closing thoughts.
Now that's a big difference. Look at how much sidewall you have gripping.
But to be
versus
fair,
your
it's a
standard.
35 as
That's
well.
correct.
So you are going to
But
have...
even your 32s or whatever still have, you know, what looks like 60% of the sidewall is covered
Yeah.
with a really soft ply rubber.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. I mean, it's something to touch on.
I mean, I know you've got you know, tread down here on that, but this,
Yeah.
it is pretty
It's soft,
pretty
but
soft.
it's not gonna it's not gonna have that much of a grab.
Correct,
versus those,
because
which
it
is
has
true.
all that flex in it. Correct. That is very correct.
If I'm not mistaken, does this come in a staggered setup? I've never seen your machine when it had stock tires. Is it?
What do you mean staggered? Same size rim and tires?
Is it the 3410 on the back as well, or is it the
Same
3412?
Same exact tire all the way around.
Okay. So like on the CF Motos, it's on mine. It was a 27
By 9 and a 27 by 11
So.
in the rear.
And that's one thing I wanted to talk about with staggering them, because some people have questioned, should you stagger? Now, I have actually another tire. Let me roll these in here.
That would be a never ever.
Well, staggered has an option for a great purpose. So laying that there, and if you kind of come in here, so
There's the one comparable.
So these two being a staggered compound or staggered tire setup, which is typically what most. Oh, are you filming? I'm sorry. I didn't know she was filming. See that?
I am filming.
While we were talking. That's all right. You can keep that in. I don't care. So we're kind of changing everything up how we're normally filming. But one thing I wanted to mention in here, and we're going to clip this to the beginning, I guess. One thing, if you notice, this is 2 different width of tires, and the reason for that is it's what's called a staggered setup. This is what your machines come with from the factory. Most. I don't want to say all, because like the Segway comes with a 30, 10, 14 all the way
Front
around.
and rear,
Where like the CF Moto comes with a
27.9
Yeah.
and then 27.11 in the rear.
Yep. So the reason they stagger these tires, what some people, because I see people ask, is it okay to run staggered? Is it better to run, you know, square? The reason that they run the staggered is this actually gives better steering feel.
Absolutely.
It is a quicker, more agile feeling in the steering, and it does tend to lend itself into that. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the insurance companies want it that way because it causes the fronts to slide before the rears do, so it kind of
Correct.
stops them from grabbing and rolling. So that is something to mention as well.
But these 2 tires came off the same unit, correct?
These 2 tires came off of the Polaris Sportsman. That's what
what
was
I'm
on
saying.
stock.
Yeah.
And that's the way they were designed to work. And
But the rims are offset differently too, correct?
they are
That's why they're like that. I think they're like a 4.3 or whatever, and they're just standard
something.
5.2 in the front or whatever.
So one thing you will notice now, this machine this machine did come with a staggered setup from the factory. So for you CF Moto guys that are out there, you can run the 30 by 10s or 32 by 10s pretty much right off the bat. If you have, especially if you have the B-blocks, it won't matter. But that's something to mention in there. And I don't want anyone to think that these are a bad tire option. These are your kind of your, I guess you would say like your Swiss Army knife. They're good at kind of everything.
Multi-purpose, yeah. They're
They
great
got a
for
lot of
everything.
purposes. They're not dedicated to one application.
Correct.
But if you get into more specific application style riding, like mud, like rocks, you will notice the difference when you ride with a guy that has, Rockzillas or these crawlers or something in rocks. Or
Well, yeah,
mud.
exactly. That's why I have 3 sets of tires. I'm gonna have one, the 30s, which came stock on it. If I'm just out racing and having a good time,
Yep, that's a
I want
great
the
tire.
lightest tire on there for the quickest tire spin.
Yep.
When I'm gonna do more aggressive where there's rocks and trail, the rockabillies are going on there. But if I'm dedicated just to going rock crawling, I'm putting the Rockzillas on there. That's just the way it is.
Yep. So that's something to keep in mind. And we came up with, kind of some points, and I've heard a few guys talking about how can you get these tires balanced.
Good question.
I have not been a big fan of them. I'm gonna bring one wheel and tire in here real quick. I'm just gonna grab this one because it's sitting right here.
That's the one I want you to tell me anyway, because I wanna know your secret.
If you notice, there's no balance weights in here. There's no balance marks. Now there's two things, and this one is one your tire shop should do, and one is actually something you can do at home if you have this issue. So if you look on here, you see these marks, that little orange dot or yellow dot, that is supposed to line up directly with your valve stem. In doing so, that's the high spot. The valve stem in your wheel is your high spot.
Thanks for that information.
Your
After it took me all that time to get them put together. So I'm my own tire shop.
where that dot is now, it's a solution we can fix. Even if, let's say, you got your tires mounted somewhere else outside and you didn't do it yourself, that dot should always line up over here. And the purpose for that is that's the low spot in the tire, that's the high spot on your rim.
I did not know that.
So that's one thing. The second thing you can do, and these are very inexpensive, you can buy them at most tire shops. You can walk in and just ask for them. Tell them your tire size, okay? Give them your tire size is all you need to do. And when you walk in there, you can say, I want balance beads, a little bag of beads. Bust the bag open, and you would have to pull your outer bead out.
Which is easy enough on that.
On this, or like the CF Moto, you can pop the beads off fairly
Yeah.
easily. Like that ATV tire that's sitting out there with the big mud tires, you'll fight them, but it can be done. Or most tire shops will break the tire down fairly inexpensively.
Yeah.
If it's a traditional wheel, these bead locks, a lot of tire shops will not touch.
They will not.
Do not
I
want to do
tried
them.
and tried, and no one will touch it.
But you can get balance beads put in these, and as you sit still, they all fall to the bottom. As you start moving, they start rolling around the outer, basically the inside of the tire. And as you go faster, they find the high spots and the low spots, and they just kind of fill them in and make the tire run true. The other advantage is stay. If you get a tire like this one, obviously it is not meant to go down the road, but even at 10 miles an hour, if you pack the inside of these wheels with mud, with balance beads, they will balance them out. So they'll help at least. They may not fix it completely, but they will help.
I don't see how you can pack that full of mud. It's meant to throw it. I mean, them paddles are just made to get rid of it.
It's funny, and I'll put this on film because I was an idiot and didn't film it. I decided to go out just for a short ride with some buddies and broke an axle, buried the four-wheeler in mud up to pretty much the...
I'll put a picture.
Yeah, put a picture in here somewhere of it. And I didn't film any of it, like an idiot.
Sometimes it's about just having fun,
Yeah,
right?
sometimes it is. But yeah, I was like, of course, the one time, that happens, I end up doing that. But yeah, like these tires, balance-wise, they're absolutely hard. Mud tires are always going to be that way. Just the way they are, they're big lugs, they're not balanced. So keep that in mind as well. So
honestly, I wouldn't even be concerned about balancing something like that because you got one purpose.
you'd be surprised if you're riding 10, 12 miles an hour on the trail. I mean, you can feel them start rocking your bars side to side.
But I would think you'd feel that anyway with them type of paddles. I mean, them lugs are huge.
They are, but if you're in soft dirt, which is what those are intended for, you don't feel the lugs.
They're made for soft dirt. They look like they're made for mud.
I mean, mud, soft dirt. Like
Okay.
if you're in that loamy or sandy
Yeah.
dirt, These tires actually are, I wouldn't say they're smooth, so no one take this as, oh, these are buttery smooth.
I did take it that way.
Yeah, oh, dang it.
Right.
So one thing, like this tire is a smooth tire to run on, even, I'm not saying you'd want to run it on the road, but it's a very
Yeah,
smooth
because it
driving
wouldn't
tire.
last.
These are actually fairly good on the road.
They are.
The life of them won't last forever, just because of the big lugs and the blocks hitting asphalt, they will tear down pretty quickly.
And also because the soft compound, the tire's always
Kinda
gripping,
yeah.
gripping and ripping on the road, so it's gonna tear the tread off.
Yeah, it will tear them down. And again, like I said, it's not a knock against these style of tires. These are a great tire. It's just, every tire has an application. Kind of like when I've had the clutch conversation, every clutch setup is kind of designed for a different application. Same with your tires. And it's not saying that there's one good tire, one bad tire, there's one be-all, end-all tire that's the best or anything else. It's what works best for your application. And if you guys have questions, put them down below. I'm sure either me or Jack will probably
absolutely.
get in the conversation and kind of help out. And we put some tires together. I didn't put pricing on it. He kind of wants me to put pricing. Sorry, put them on there.
I was saying the pricing of the ones that we have here, but that's
okay.
that's a, that can be done however you choose.
Um,
Pricing is not the matter, we really, I mean,
I'm gonna pull pricing out. The only reason is just because, I'll be honest, those I bought used. These
I bought these used, but they're $1,450 for a set.
Yeah.
Even though I got it for $750, that's still a big difference. And
Yeah.
then, versus what these are probably $400 a set or $500 a set.
Yeah, I think these are about, well,
They're not very
I think
expensive.
they're like $140 a tire.
Yeah. So $550, $560. I mean, but they're still great tires
They're a great tire
for just
for
general
trail
use.
use.
For AOA, them are perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
unless you're on that.
If you're just playing
That
on
is
rocks,
a rocky place,
Yeah.
man. Oh my
if
god.
you like to play on rocks, I mean,
Yeah.
the tire will do okay. It's just not, if it's wet out, you're gonna slide a lot.
And you're gonna puncture it.
Yeah.
You're definitely gonna blow that tire out.
I mean, like I said,
Because it didn't have a B-lock.
You're right. Beadlock was there. When you're running 8 pounds of air in a tire, that can be an issue for them.
Mm-hmm.
Where like we were talking about with these Rockabilly or with the Rockzillas, I think they're a good tire.
Mhm.
But with my preference of rock crawling and the Rockzillas, I hear some people say, I can't confirm because I haven't ridden with you with those yet, and I would love to ride with you when we have
Yeah.
those air, ready to go and the clutching's done in your machine and
It's all coming Thursday, I think.
Oh, nice. But with those, if you're gonna wanna run, for you for the Southwest guys, cause I mean, that's the thing, I didn't wanna make, this video isn't specific to people that are watching, this isn't specific to CF Moto or Segway.
Or Can-Am or
Can-Am
Polaris,
or
anybody. It's
Polaris,
nothing.
yeah,
It's
it's-
whatever tire fits your application.
It's a general tire application guide, but if you like to run higher speeds, I don't know how this tire handles
I don't
high
know.
speeds. Where the trail
Well, I
guys-
have no intentions of ever finding out.
I do.
I know you
Let me
do.
borrow it.
I just have to watch you when you're in my unit.
Let me borrow. Oh, yeah, I
No.
know. But for me, I want to run 75, 80 miles an hour, and that's where the Trail Grappler is designed
Yeah.
to kind of do both.
Yeah.
But
The tires may spin at 50 or 60 or 70 when I'm trying to get up a rock, but general purpose driving, I'm,
mhm.
25, 30 miles an hour through the trails is all I'm
Yeah.
gonna do with that.
and that's a great tire. I mean, I don't want anyone to think this is probably one of the kings in rock. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
And
for
the
price.
grapplers.
And the big thing is with this versus the Trail Grappler is the price.
Yeah.
These are a lot cheaper for the quality of tire you get, and Maxxis makes a great tire.
Yeah.
I am not taking that away.
$1,450 for a set.
Yeah, where I think
After
the
then-
Trail Grapplers are close to $2,000.
Yeah.
But, and the other downfall with the Trail Grappler is you have to go to a 15.
Yeah.
You can't run a 14. They don't make it.
I
on
think
14.
14 is still pretty standard on a lot of units.
It is, but like your bigger units, like your the Kawasaki
Straight 15.
Straight 15. I think some of the Can-Ams are coming with it now, like the Maverick R's. The base model one comes with 15, and the next one up comes with 15, and they go to 16, which I think that's stupid in my
I
opinion.
think more sidewalls better, but.
And then a lot of the aftermarket's starting to get into the 15. So,
Yeah.
but that's one thing with these. This is I think the largest rock tire in a 14 that you can get.
It is.
So, I mean, it's definitely a great tire. So,
You said 14, right?
in a 14.
Okay, I
yeah.
thought you maybe.
Yeah, no. In the 14, which is the typical ATV side-by-side world tire, I mean, that's that's a heck of a tire for the money. I mean, you can't beat it for the money. That's the biggest thing.
That's exactly
and I think that's
right.
why they do as well as they do versus
And you see a lot of different mainstream people, Can-Am crew in particular.
Mhm.
They've used them religiously.
Yep.
Blown budget off road.
Yep.
Except for the one, I can't remember his name, the crazy
Yeah,
guy with the blue Polaris, he always used the Nittos.
Yeah.
And he liked them a lot.
Yeah. No, that, and then there's another tire. It's called the USD Sticky.
Yeah.
It's another one that, I mean, it's not a mainstream tire, but it's a tire that has giant tread lug, but still really good rock capability. But it's an axle breaker. That's the life of those tires.
Mm-hmm.
They're great
This
tires.
is the same thing. Any of your soft compound tires are going to be axle breakers.
Well, I think something to take note of too with the lesser horsepower machines like this, the Segway.
And like the Segway.
They have one luxury that they just don't have a ton of power to really keep braking.
Or even your Polaris 1000 XP. You know, anytime you're under 120 horsepower, you're less likely unless you've got an aggressive tire spin.
Yeah.
And it grabs.
Yeah.
And it's going to snap. Something's going to give.
Something will.
It always does.
Yeah. So, I guess in kind of general terms, I kind of wrote this up yesterday. I was bored. Well, actually, Jamin wrote it up because she has much neater handwriting.
I was going to say, there's no way you
I write like a gorilla. So, this is just some basic tires that I kind of came up with for you guys to kind of take a look into. If you're in the mud, I mean, the EFX Moto Slayers, the High Lifter Outlaws, if I'm not mistaken, the High Lifter Outlaws are pretty much one of your lightest tires.
I'm not 100% sure.
Coming out of the factory, I mean, just coming from the factory weights, they're one of the lightest. The Gorilla Silverback MT2s, that's the MT1. They have updated that tire, and I think they did make it a little bit lighter as well. But that's the old school one. I got them, they work. So, the BKT AT171s, that's your typical tractor tire. I mean, we literally use them on farm tractors, just in a much taller size, but great tire. The Frontline ACP is another good tire, and Ken kind of goes more of a trail-ish tire and mud tire. It's a little tuned more towards the mud side than it is the trail, but it will work for both sides for people that are looking for a tire like that. And then I've ran Intercos for years. I've been in the off-road world 20 plus years now, and I've used Intercos on quite a few vehicles. The Bogger, they do make a ATV, UTV specific Bogger tire. Then if anyone notices, that's on 30s now, but did have the 33 inch technically, but they measure 34. Interco Snipers, I'll have Jamin put a link picture here, somewhere in here. And then they also have a tire for like the ATVs, which is the Swamp Light, which is a good tire. They work really well. You know, they're again more of a trail side tire, but do have mud capability. And then they're Black Mamba. If you want to run them, they're a really cool looking tire, but they will snap axles left and right. They have tread blocks that are 3 times the size of that Gorilla.
Yeah. And they're not very forgiving.
They're not. They slightest tire spin, you're gonna start
the
snapping
lugs are
axles.
just extremely stiff.
And then for the Can-Am guys, I know these tires, they love them because they like to skim with them, and it's a great tire for skimming, is the Super ATV Assassinators. Great tire for that. If you want to go play in that, go for it. You know, you got your 1000cc machines on a light machine, they're an awesome tire. When it comes to trail, and I excuse if this yellow doesn't come up as well on screen, we'll kind of come into it as well. I've ran the BFG KM3s on quite a few vehicles, both trucks, truck-wise, and a few on the ATV side. It's an excellent tire, and it's kind of it's a combination of kind of like the crawlers and a mixture of the stags, kind of that mixture between the two. They're really firm, like very stiff compounded tire, stiff tread block area where it's super puncture resistant, but the blocks are very soft, kind of like the Rockzillas, and work really well, kind of as an all-around tire. The Rockabillys, which is outside, that was the other set of tires he's got in the 32s. The Pro Armor Crawlers, which is what I've been using, they're kind of a in-between tire. They can go rock or they can go trail use. So they're a good all-around tire.
And that's what you have on there now, correct?
That's what I have on this now,
Yeah.
and that's what Polaris puts on a few of their side-by-sides as
They're nice
a
tires.
stock tire.
Very nice.
They're a really good overall general use tire. So the Maxxis Carnivore is another good trail tire. I mean,
And they're one of the lightest for
yes,
that.
one of the lightest
size.
and very good tire.
Very popular.
Yes, as well. System 3 makes a ton of tires. I wrote a bunch of them down. I'm not going to go through every list of them, but you know, System 3 makes a ton of tires. Milestar Patagonia is also a good ATV tire. They do make a ATV specific tire for more of your desert side-by-side use and light trail, less mud kind of riding is where those tires are best suited. Then we'll kind of come over to the rock side. You're going back to the Nitto Trail Grappler, which we don't have here. That's probably one of my favorite rock tires. And then we have the Maxxis Rockzilla, which is that behemoth sitting there, which is his favorite rock tire. And
yes, for the money.
That's for the
and
money.
They serve the purpose quite well.
Yes, they are a really good tire for the money. The Maxxis Liberty, which again comes on the Can-Am XRCs, I think, from the factory.
Mm-hmm.
They're a great rock tire. Once you get into the muddier trails, they seem to kind of just become pretty useless, unfortunately.
And so will the Rockzillas.
The Rockzilla, though, has the luxury you can spin them. They'll kind of clear out a little bit, but they do take some wheel spin to get them cleared out.
It does take a lot.
And then there's another one that's probably not as well known. It's called the USD Sticky. That's a good tire as well. It is an axle breaker. It's got a ton of traction. It is a very pliable tire. I mean, makes those look like they're stiff compared to the USD Sticky. And that's another great tire option as well, but if you're a dedicated rock guy. So I appreciate it, guys. You got any closing thoughts or any ideas you want to throw in? And
no, each tire is designed for a certain budget or certain person's type of riding. You don't buy the Maxxis Rockzillas for just to go riding in trails. You buy a basic all-purpose tire just to ride for trail riding.
Those. And one thing that I tell a lot of people as well, you know, and I hate saying what I'm going to say, but it's going to be the buy once, cry once mentality. Just because, let's say you can find these tires, and let's say you were looking at a 30-inch tire category, and this tire is, you know, $100 a tire. If it's not going to be the best application for you, don't get that one just because the price is the cheapest.
That's right.
Spend the money wisely, because the first thing that hits the road or trail in any of these machines is these. This is your first line. You know, it's one of your first lines of defense, both in, you want something that's going to be puncture resistant. You want something that's gonna, if you're trail riding, that has smooth characteristics on the trail. You want something that's gonna grip on the application that you're riding in. For us, we ride in Pennsylvania, so and West Virginia as well. So it's muddier rocks, it's, you know, wet rock a lot. So we need tires that work in that application. Or with our ATV, we ride predominantly mud, so we have a specific mud tire for that machine. That's what those applications are for, though, and that's why we have our machines set the way they are. It's by no means saying that this is the end-all be-all list and you must buy this. This is just kind of our general thoughts of how to get a good tire for your machine. And a great way to do it is ask around. Take what we've given you guys and dig more into it. Talk to people and ask what their applications are and understand what your application in riding is and what you're demanding of that tire so you can get the best application for you at home.
Yeah, I would think also that for most general purpose, the tires that come on the unit are going to be more than suffice for most people. It's when it's time to upgrade, don't buy another 4-ply. Get something, you know, always strengthen your ply because that's always a plus. Even though it may make a stiffer tire, but it's more less prone to puncture. Something,
you know, and that goes in the, well, here's something to think of. You can take like the Pro Armor Crawler, and that, if I'm not mistaken, are close to the same ply. I would have to check the ply count on those. Maybe I'll put a little notation at the bottom here. I think they're close to the same ply, but that tire is way more puncture resistant because of its tread block. The way it's designed, it's a tighter tread block. Even though the plies are still the same, it's giving it same puncture resistance in that way. Where this, being a wide open tread, it is more, you know, it's more...
It's going to accept a puncture way quicker.
Way easier. And so that is what, again, I mean by saying when you're buying a tire, understand your application. If you ride in areas where train track, riding is allowed. I'm not saying in some places it is. If you're riding in those areas, those railroad spikes will go through a tire
Quickly.
Those will protect against the railroad spike, or these will protect against the railroad spike because
But the rocks on those, when we ride in West Virginia, the rocks that we're riding on beside the tracks, man, they're aggressive number twos.
Yep.
They will bust a tire.
They can bust a tire, and I mean, they can bust a tire on these, they can bust a tire
Any
on
of
those.
them.
But like these tighter tread blocks will have better
Yeah,
resistance
chance
to that.
not happen.
But again, if you're going to be a mud guy, these tires probably aren't going to work for you. That's what you're going to need. You're going to need your dedicated mud tire. If your goal is to go play on the rocks all day, that is not meant for it. It can do it,
Yeah.
but that is a far better application of a tire
For
than
that purpose.
this.
Yeah.
And also when you're upgrading tire sizes, look into what what clutch manufacturers say, you should start recommending or starting to look into for your tire application. Because if you're on a 30 coming from the factory and you're gonna go to a 35 like you did, you're gonna need to clutch it somewhat to get some of that power back.
You're getting deep now, man.
But that's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
I've covered that already in previous videos, so I don't want to kind of bear into that. But that is something to also take note of before you start buying, tires, and start looking into that. And it doesn't matter what manufacturer. It doesn't matter if it's Segway, CF Moto, Polaris Can-Am.
And it has to do with the weight of the tire too. Like the Maxxis Carnivore 32s are not going to weigh the same as as this.
A 32-inch Rockzilla.
And a Rockzilla. It's not even going to be
No.
close. Because they're one of the lightest tires on the market, the
Yeah.
Carnivores. And they're great application for what they are.
So that's something to also keep in mind is remember that when you're shopping for tires, that you find the right tire for your application. That's, I think, the biggest key to this video was find a tire that fits your application and fits what you need it to do, and then kind of work around it and build to it if you need to.
That's correct.
So, all right, guys, I appreciate everything. Jack and I will see you on the next one. I think we're going to do a ride here sometime soon.
As soon as I get my ECU back, we're going riding.
That wasn't me that said that.
I said it.
But no, as soon as this will be back together here this week, MSC has got an axle shaft coming for it, so that'll be back up soon, and he'll be back up soon. We'll get out and do some riding for you guys. So catch you guys on the next one. See ya.